right here on TV3. We are talking business, and in particular, of course, inter-regional trade. Now, we know that since the president of Ghana, he's been made the chairman of ECOWAS. But looking at it, we have statistics here that African countries, trade between African countries currently stand right now at 10 to 12%. However, if we compare it to some of our European and Western neighbors, North American countries trade, this is from 2009 statistics, trade stood at 48%, inter-European trade was 72%, while the inter-Asian trade was 52%. But obviously, looking at down here, we're 10 to 12%. So, why are Africans so reluctant, or African nations so reluctant to trade amongst ourselves? Benny and I have with us to talk about this and discuss more in detail, Paul Frimpong, who's an economist. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
And also Rehab Yao Edukranton, who's a research analyst at End Trade Amongst Ourselves. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think this is a good question you're asking. And watching the video, we've seen the numbers as you read. Currently, African trade among us are around 10 to 12% on the whole, which is not good. Though there's other issues around it, because that is formal trade. We've not looked at informal trade, which can push the number around 30% or so. But compared to other regions, as you read, you look at Europe, trading around 60 to 70%, which is very good because their markets are actually integrated. They are more integrated. 27 member countries coming together and forming that trade bloc. So you see there's a lot of movement of goods and services and people within this region. So they are able to trade among themselves. You go to Latin America, around 25%, America 48% thereabout, which is very, very impressive. But when it comes to Africa, it's just around 12%. But I think a different story is being told now, which I think going forward we'll delve into them, because in the 1980s, we see growth very, very low in Africa. We saw growth around 2%, 3%, while population growth was actually going up. So we saw population growth rising faster than economic growth. So we saw a lot of people in poverty. By the turn of the century, it's around 1990, late 1990, 2000, you've seen a lot of countries growing above population growth. You saw Ghana growing and double-digit in 2011, which is quite impressive. Though we have issues with economic growth and economic transformation, because when you have economic growth, there must be that transformation. Economic growth will drive development, and development will bring transformation, and poverty will reduce. So if the numbers are going up and we don't see that transformation in the lives of people, then we cannot really talk about the growth, which is something that we also talk about later on. So I think in the whole, we are not able to do this because we are not able to integrate our market. Africa is 54 fragmented, scattered, small countries. We cannot do this without integrating our market from the various regional blocks. We have ECOWAS, we have the SADC, we have the COMESA, the EAC, all trying to move the agenda from that circle, because that actually has been the agenda of Africa post-independence. So we are the story is different now, and also we are trying to look at the system where now we are trying to say that we shouldn't depend solely on the external sources, because this country have shown time and time again they are also not strong. They have their own issues that they have to deal with. Yeah. So we shouldn't live our life as if somebody who has a living. No, we must look at our internal system and try to develop from there. So I think that has been the agenda now. That's why we are seeing a lot of institutions, like the African Development Bank, the Economic Commission for Africa, the NEPAD, and AU. They are all trying to come on board and help us trade among us. So that's actually the tone. And talking about the challenge, a number of challenges that we can all identify going forward, because you see, infrastructure is basically one aspect of it, which is quite obvious. A lot of analysis have been done on it, and on the infrastructure, which I just want to talk something little about. With the infrastructure, you have both the physical, the soft and the hard infrastructure. Most of the time, we tend to look at the hard infrastructure, talk about the roads, talk about the rails, talk about our transport system, which is very, very hard. The hard infrastructure we always see capital intensive, but the soft infrastructure, which is very, very, very critical in terms of how we're able to trade among ourselves. A lot of bureaucracies at our border posts, unclear policies are those are soft infrastructure. We can surmount some of these things without even have to do a lot of investment. No, these are things that we can do. It takes political, it takes leadership who are willing to commit to doing trade among us, and then we can move forward around that area.
Okay. In regards to obviously this being an inter-regional trade idea, I mean, we as Africa, we've always established the fact that if we were to cut ourselves off from everybody, we'd probably be the only continent that could actually survive by ourselves. However, the way our natural resources are, dispersed around the continent, as well as the imports that we actually, or the actual exports that we have as individual countries, is that achievable? Because, I mean, we might say that we're the gateway to Africa, but if we've closed the other gates, then how do we actually open up to the rest of Africa?
Well, I think the issue about Africa is that we are not that competitive with the things that we produce. I mean, since going back to the days of independence till now, we are still doing raw materials.
Yep.
We still, even in the case of Ghana, we export crude and we import finished petroleum goods, which I think hasn't really been the best for Africa. You know, another issue about Africa is that we have lots of countries which are locked up, you know, without any ports and other things. So most of us are producing just about the same thing actually. So, Burkina Faso, Mali, and the others are producing goods, which we also produce here. They pass through our ports, and then they export. So the issue about Africa is not necessarily because we are unable to export, but then we keep on exporting the raw materials. You know, we are not adding value to what we are doing.
Right.
We're just exporting things the way they are, and at the end we just go back and import the finished ones back into it. So the issue actually has to do with the rate at which we are able to add value to the things that we export, because at the end we will continue having issues with our own various economies, because the value of our exports keep on falling, whilst the finished goods, the price of the finished goods keep on rising. At the end, there's still a gap that which is yet to be filled. But then in Africa, the issue has to do with a lot of factors, as you said, infrastructure, climate, even political issues are also there, and then the barriers to trade are also very, very physical. And sometimes we don't necessarily see the monetary one, but then even the other ones that goes into bureaucracy and the rest are also very, very, very visible at our various posts. So I think that has over the years been the exact issue that's really cropping up in Africa. But then going forward, if we are looking now to trade within ourselves, I think the problem really has to do with, since we are all producing raw materials, who actually turns these raw materials into finished goods for us? Right. Because we are all doing it. Apart from nations like South Africa, which is trying to industrialize, I think they when you look at the list, the data that I had from EcoBank, it's probably they have the highest in terms of imports and exports in Africa, and the rest is basically Nigeria export all their oil, Ghana we exporting all our oil. So I think basically with the ones that we are looking at, we keep on seeing these things. This kind of cyclical. There's like we keep on repeating this thing over and over again,
mistakes,
and then that's what's really happening.
All right. I mean, President Mahama right now is the chairman of ECOWAS. What strategies do you think he should put in place to try and better this interregional trade?
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for him and as Ghana, for instance, because with him being the chairman of the ECOWAS, I think we will have a lot of say in terms of how we be able to integrate our market. I think the whole agenda of trading, being able to trade among ourselves, to be able to integrate our market. Okay, so ECOWAS as a sub-region, that should be the agenda. So ECOWAS will be able to trade among itself and then move to the other region as well. I think on the whole, ECOWAS has the chance. If you look at the numbers, 15%, but the highest among the various regional blocks, the EAC, which is the Eastern African Community, very, very integrated. Rwanda in 2013, President Paul Kagame declared that you can move in to Rwanda without any visa processing or anything. Okay. So all the members in the East African bloc can go to Rwanda. That's the bold decision that we need to be seeing across ECOWAS.
So you recommend?
Yeah. We though there are issues, we have to within ECOWAS region.
We already have.
I think it's
we already have.
Yeah, we already have. But I mean, going forward, there are a number of issue challenges on our border, unclear policies here and there.
Okay.
Those things must be on the table. So going forward, I think those are the things that Mahama should be President Mahama should be putting forward at the ECOWAS as a sub-region.
Any other strategies to help better?
I think the whole issue has to do with what exactly are we producing, what we are trading. But we're in West Africa, Ghana has gold, we have the things we are normally exporting. Mm-hmm. Other countries do the same.
Yeah, and they're actually beating us at it.
Exactly, because one story I read yesterday was our same old West Africa gas pipeline, which we thought we could get from Nigeria. Yep. The issue is that because of the Russian trouble with Crimea and all that, now Europe is turning to Nigeria for oil, which means that we, Ghana and the rest of Africa, need to bid up. to
Yes.
be able to match
Or
them.
we'll get to the back of the queue.
Exactly.
basically.
Yeah.
So I think the issue with the movement of people around the borders, I think for a while now that hasn't really been a very big issue, because people keep on goods from Benin and Togo and Nigeria keep on coming to Ghana. So that hasn't really been much of an issue. The issue itself is what goods are we actually bringing onto the market, because West Africa has a very, very, very good opportunity. Even looking at Nigeria, for example, Nigeria has all the market that we need if we're able to produce goods of very high quality.
Okay.
And we take it
I'm
there.
going to stop you there for a second, because Paul even mentioned something earlier on, being competitive, and in being competitive, obviously one of our major issues is our operational costs. In most of the things that we produce, even some of this made in Ghana goods that we even want to even sell domestically, one of the major things is cost of production. So how is it that we're going to be able to, or what kind of things should we be put in place whereby we can actually be competitive, reduce our operational costs, hopefully, either that or in some way subsidize it, so that we can actually be competitive, so that we can export, so that we are looked at. I mean, because at the moment, Burkina Faso is giving us tomatoes. That doesn't make sense. You understand? We've got other places where we were at the head of cocoa exports and all the rest of it. Why are we not there now? We still have the capability to do so, but it is because of our operational costs. So what is it you see happening, or what is it that you would like to see happen, so that we can actually bring down the operational cost for us to be more competitive and actually have a better leeway or better leverage when it comes to negotiating with these kind of things?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question about it. I think we are looking at trade finance has been an issue. Okay, trade finance has really been an issue because we don't have a good warehousing system, because we are looking at cross-border
That's
trade.
right.
That's Ghana being able to trade with South Africa, we trade with Burkina Faso and the rest of the other countries in Africa. So we're looking at effective warehouse system. Okay, so if I know that when I ship my goods to maybe the Tema Harbour, I'll get a very good housing system, which I can even use as a license, the license of the warehouse to actually go for money, be able to finance the trade I'm doing. That's actually, and in Africa, when we look at the numbers from the African Development Bank, it's saying that transport cost alone increased the cost of doing business in Africa about 40%. And look, an example that I saw was that Africa's biggest grocery chain, which is ShopRite, will have to sign about 1,600 documents per truck before you can get the goods to other markets, which is very, 1,600 documents has to be signed per truck to be able to get your goods over to another country. So these are going to cost a lot of money. And in other parts, I was reading a report on tripartite, the tripartite trading, free trade area between the EAC, COMESA, and Southern African countries. Prior to that, 26 member countries have come together, around 600 million people, GDP around $630 billion, which is 53% of the whole continent's total GDP, which is very good. So they came together in 2011 or so, and now there was a border between Zambia and Zimbabwe, which is called the Chirindi border. And that border, trucks moving from those countries, among those countries, you have to stay there for about seven days before the truck can move. So you can imagine the cost in there. And when they came together, able to rehabilitate that border, now it takes less than a day. Okay, so some of these things is actually going to reduce what we are talking about, the cost of doing business, the cost of transactions over there. So what are the issues around those borders, both the inland, the road, the rail, that around area? We're going to do that, trust me, the cost of doing business and it will reduce, and then we're going to trade among ourselves. So that's a typical example that we are seeing across the continent. And going forward, we should be seeing a lot of these things around. On clear policy, for instance, maybe Ghana would want to export maybe cocoa to Burkina Faso, just an example. And then you get to the border and we tell you a ban has been placed on cocoa. Just on clear policy, nobody talks to anybody. You just be there and you go to the border and they tell you a ban has been placed on this, or we tell you it doesn't meet local standard. What sort of issues are that? So those are the issues around the unclear policies, aside the physical infrastructure that I was talking about. And so we're able to reduce on those issues, trust me, we're able to reduce the cost of doing business, and then we can move forward from there.
Okay. All right. I'm almost out of time on this, but going as far back as 1991, the Abuja Treaty sought to get the single currency within Africa, but obviously it hasn't happened. Not sure if it's ever going to happen. What do you think are some of the challenges that has prevented Africa into going where the euro, for example, has been able to go?
The case with the euro, for example, there was a clear-cut policy and guidelines to how they were going to achieve it. the treaty was signed, certain guidelines were not that clear. So, we keep on going back and forth. We're ahead of ECHO, and there's nothing going on. But I think one thing we've seen that the example, even with the CFA, hasn't really worked much for the Francophone countries, because at the end, although we are all trading in CFA, when I get to your border, there are issues that I have to deal with. So I think the issue really is that we need to get things in place. If we are still going to move goods freely, then we should make all this infrastructure ready, available, so that when we have to transport goods, it will be very easy for us. Because at the end, when I have to go through, and the whole issue about Africa is that we all produce just about the same, like I said at the beginning. So if we just have to be creative enough to be able to be, divert from the usual thing, try and add value to what we do in our various respective countries. Because at the end, if I'm doing Nigeria is doing oil, Ghana is doing oil, very soon Sierra Leone will do oil, very soon Cote d'Ivoire also do oil. There'll be oil all over, and then we're all taking it away. So at the end, nothing really remains here. I think because of the whole colonialism economy that we practiced doing back in the day, where everything we did was sent outside. That's exactly the same thing we're doing, just that we keep on just refining it. But the same thing we keep on doing, we send everything back. So in Africa, there's quite a long way to go. But then all these certain issues that we need to do to clarify. But then the main idea is that we should add value to what we do, and we should try to be very competitive. Because if goods in Ghana are not of high quality, how do we compete with the ones from Europe? Because now if this EPA is signed, for example, if this EPA is signed and we have to trade with Europe, we open our borders to them, and they also open part of their borders to us, and then we transfer goods to them. It gets there, they tell you this is of there's substance, that there is this in there, because recently they rejected some fruits from Ghana that they contain some bacteria or whatever, and the funny thing is that they are the only ones who saw it. We didn't see it. So at the end, everything is rejected, but when they bring theirs, we accept.
We don't even, it just floods the
so
market.
At the end, if we are quite competitive, we'll be able to get goods of very high quality. So we start with Ghana. Make goods produced in Ghana for local people should be of high quality, so that when they're of high quality, we're able to compete anywhere. But we at the end, the goods that we have locally, the quality is questionable. So at the end, everybody is relying outside, and then that's the whole issue about Ghana and the whole of Africa, actually.
I want to say a big thank you to you both for coming in and discussing this. Obviously, this is not something that we can clear up all in one go, so we'll probably have to extend this conversation at some point in time. But I want to say a big thank you to Paul Frimpong, who's an economist, and Yao Edukranting, a research analyst at NDK Financial Services. Let's not forget the business segment is brought to you by Peak Milk, and we shall return in just a few moments here.